All right, welcome everybody. We are back for another Burrance Backcountry Adventure podcast. I am horrible at using this mixer board, if that's what it's called. But today, we can't believe it. It is the end of the season. And so we thought we'd have some fun introducing you to, for you guys watching on YouTube, some of the guys behind the scenes. You guys all know Pulsifer. We got TJ over here. We got Taylor over here. We're missing Andrew and Ryan, but they're busy. I don't know. Actually, I don't know what Ryan's doing, but Andrew's gearing up for, he's a fly fishing guide in the summer, owns his own business. So if you ever want to come up to Buena Vista and do some awesome fishing, go see our buddy Andrew. Andrew, that's $4.
It's a pretty good deal.
It really is, actually.
We've stayed on schedule this year on our weekly podcast, too.
We sure have. So you guys should say thank you for that. This is like our fourth one, I guess. It's been a very intense, busy season, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It started intense, and it never really got less intense. And so as you guys can see behind us, and again, if you guys are tuning in via Spotify or iTunes or whatever, you can't see it, but we'll paint the picture. Today is the big iron day, so we're taking our old sleds out. I'm actually rocking here for about 4 minutes because I'm sweating to death. My 1996 snow check coat that I received when I snow checked my very first snowmobile. My very first brand new sled was a 96 XLT RMK. Still got the coat here. Has 20-some years of dog hair from my parents' house on it, and I actually didn't clean any of it off, so I look a little rough over here. Yeah, so we thought today, while we had everyone here, we would knock out a podcast, and we had an incredible season. I think this was one of the best snow years we've ever had. And that was with 5 weeks of no snow, 4 weeks of no snow almost in January. And a lot of the West saw that. And, you know, we got lucky in that 4 week period. We got a couple storms that did pretty decent. And, you know, our snow came late, which it normally doesn't. We normally get snow early because of our elevation. But with that snow coming late, it ended up providing us with a pretty awesome base all year. And then our spring was killer. We had quite a bit of snow from that end of February to just last week, and I saw there's some more snow coming next week, and so it was a great season. And what we wanted to talk about today was our last group. What we kind of laid it all out on the line, knowing that we didn't have to save any more spots. We didn't have to rely on our snowmobiles working the next day. That was Taylor's philosophy for sure, I know. And so we're going to talk about our last session where, well, we ended up naming a creek. What's it called?
Shit Creek.
We got another one down there. Oh, we've been doing it today. Kyle, what did we call this now?
This is officially Shit Creek.
We have now named Shit Creek. We're almost out.
This was the promised land.
Shit Creek. Yep. We named that. I finally won $1 on a thank you on a pretty aggressive log hop. That was a ton of fun. Taylor almost died. How many times did he almost die?
Can you see that?
Yeah.
I may have been, but I muscled it off.
You were down there?
We are in some very rugged terrain right now. It's pretty open, to be honest, but there was this crazy windstorm this summer that knocked all this stuff down, and it is shitty.
Some epic riding.
Oh man, that was the first time I got arm pumped since November. What happened?
Oh, you know, just making my own way here. Found a log,
There was a couple close calls.
He does a couple close calls an hour. And usually somebody is in danger as well.
Yeah, So we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna have some fun phone clips and stuff that will tie into this video. So if you guys are listening, make sure you check it out on the YouTube channel. It'll be pretty entertaining. And then TJ, TJ, this was your first full year guiding. Had a blast with you, and then we ended it with a bang too. You ended up in the drink.
What's going on in here?
Sled was overheating, so I put it in the crank.
Yeah.
A little bit, and we'll kind of talk about. I got a couple good ones about these last 3 days about TJ too. So let's just get into it, guys. And I guess we'll do this really quick because normally you guys know I do all the talking, which kind of sucks, and everyone wants to hear about you guys. So just real quick, Taylor, why don't you introduce yourself real quick and tell everyone how your season was?
Oh, yeah, my name's Taylor Hefner, and got to guide with Chris. This was the first full season I did in a part-time scenario, and got to be a part of the team this year.
Full-time?
The first.
How many groups did you do?
Part-time, but the first full season.
There we go. Clarification.
Just because these guys work 6 days a week, they think they're special.
Which we are.
And so I'm from up and over the mountains, so get to ride some of the areas I grew up riding in, and get to be pushed by these guys, and also help teach and push some other guys. And I get a lot of crap around here because I
FNG, dude.
am the new guy, and I'm trying to keep up, so I pile things up occasionally. But for the most part, I did pretty good this year. I wasn't too many parts, and anyways,
and that's everyone has their own opinion or perspective of what's pretty good. There wasn't one night that Taylor wasn't fixing something on his sled, but that's pretty good. Well, yeah, Taylor was awesome, and it'll be cool to talk about your philosophies here on these last couple days here. TJ, why don't you jump on the mic here and tell everyone how your first full season here, actual full season at BBA was.
It was awesome. Got to be a client last year, and invited me to come back out, play with you guys this year, and it was awesome. Me and Andrew had a lot of good times. Me and you got a guy together a couple times. Me and Kyle had some awesome groups, so it was an awesome experience.
I will say that, so middle of the season, Kyle and I both were talking about firing TJ already because our snow had been so good that he got spoiled. And TJ just thinks this is what it is, that you go ride snow with this word called a base, which we know we don't have here. And his sleds are all in fairly one piece for his first year guiding, which has never happened in the history of BBA Kyle's still working on that. So you got lucky, but yeah, I would take another year like this any day. So it was awesome having you, and we had some shenanigans this last group, which we're going to dive into right now. So, all right, guys, let's set the stage. It was basically the last day of March and the first couple days of April, and so that time frame can be questionable. We've had seasons where we ended that time of the year, and it's been maybe similar to what we had this time. We've had it where it's been full winter. Remember me, you, and Andrew's last ride in 2020 when we got shut down for COVID?
Yeah.
Dude, that was some of the best snow of the year.
Yeah.
Right? And then we've had years where it just dried up. The snow was bulletproof. It was hard. We were still snowmobiling, but, we had to wait until about noon for the snow to soften up. And, there were some challenges. So, again, it's nothing that we can control, snow. So we just make the best of it. But we got pretty lucky with some pretty incredible conditions. And so here's how I want to do this. I want to, we have so many moments, and I guess, guys, just make sure that we can back up the stuff we're talking about with some stories or phone clips, so Blake can put something funny together for these guys. So, Kyle, I'm going to start with you. let's talk about what sled you were riding, and think about what what stuck out in your mind over those 3 days.
Well, it was kind of really my first real ride on that sled. I'd kind of just been putting parts on it all year, and it's a 155 Chaos, Carl's 900, a bunch of lightweight stuff. And I don't know, I generally I've always rode 63s, but going back to a 55 kind of challenges myself, and I think makes me a better rider. Have to do you got to be on your toes a little bit more. You don't get away with as much, and it's a pretty wheelie happy sled. And in places that you don't really want to be doing wheelies, you're really having to stay on your toes. And it runs really good. And then I went back to a 2.6 this last group too on that sled, and that was fun to kind of feel both tracks, but it's badass sled.
Yeah. All right. So we were riding with clients. We had a bunch of repeat clients, so it was literally like riding with friends. So we had a ball. We brought some of these clients down into some of these hell holes that we were dropping in. All right, I'm gonna just ask you which one stuck out to you most over, like, which event? Was it the log? Was it Shit Creek? Was it that first day we got into some stuff?
Probably the Blowdown area. It's a really steep hill, and the snow finally something we'd never be able to ride, but the snow set up enough probably a week ago, and then we got some fresh snow on top of it, so we were actually able to ride over quite a bit of junk and obstacles. And
it wasn't quite a bit of junk, that's all it was.
was junk and steep. It was steep down by the creek, and there was some different conditions down there. Like, you'd find some sun pockets they'd eat you up. Yep. And we had some pretty fun lines out of there. I've never rode down there.
Well, it was funny. So this, again, to paint the picture here, so what happened, there was this crazy event last summer where it was a microburst that came through, and this drainage, the drainage next to it, and the drainage next to it. And we're talking about, what do you think, Taylor? That's 2 miles worth?
2 or 3 miles worth.
From Mirror Lake, right, all the way over to where we were. It's a 2-mile range that each aspect at that same elevation, this crazy microburst of wind came through, and literally it looked like they went in and logged it. And so they went in and logged it, except left everything. And there was just these huge piles of trees and debris and all of this junk. And so what's interesting, to Kyle's point, is we were in there about 4 weeks ago with Kirk Hibbert and Joe Narlock and his group.
Yep.
Right. And we kind of tiptoed in there, and it was like, we better get out of here. There's no way we can get people in here, for one.
Or get snowmobiles out in one piece.
That's right. And, the snow was sugary a little bit, and just like there was not enough snow in there either.
Mm-hmm.
And so we, fast forward 4 weeks later, I literally dipped my toe in there again. I saw where you dropped into the creek, and then you turned left and went up kind of the normal tree line that we normally do.
Yeah.
And I skirted that. I'm like, man, I'm going to go in there one more time, because we've never been able to ride this slope.
Yep.
It is, once you start going down, it is so steep and so thick that I was like, man, and in sugar snow, there was just no way you could. And then the problem is there, when you were down in the bottom, there's no way of getting out except the right back coming back up. And someone is going to follow our tracks and never come home.
Ben Squared might have felt that.
Yeah, Ben Squared did feel that. Okay, so sorry. There's this, this big blowdown area. Okay, so, and with the snow that we can actually get on top of it and ride it, I call you on the radio. I'm like, hey, you need to get over here. We need to drop down this. And you and Taylor,
I was right on Kyle's tail.
And you're like, incoming. And then TJ, we suck him down in there too. And then we offered it up to the clients, right? All right, boys, here's what we're gonna do. And we were in this really like this really cool place. And this particular was our day 3. So a lot of guys were ready for not Shit Creek. They were ready for Powturns, which we were able to do in April, which is awesome. So a bunch of guys stayed up top and just were, it's kind of our free ride day. A bunch of guys were staying up top, but we got 2 to come down in there with us.
Ben Squared, client of ours, repeat. He doesn't push himself enough sometimes, I think.
Yep.
So I was like, and I know he's a really good rider, and I wanted to push him. So I'm like, hey, Ben, you're coming with me. Let's go. So I drug him down there. He'll hate me forever for that. But so we dropped down in there and met you. And just coming down it, I was like, yeah, this will be interesting.
Well, and so I agree 100%. So we start going down, and I am about 3/4 of the way down, and I'm on edge, and I'm like salivating as we were going down, like these pillows and these logs and rocks everywhere, and I'm like, dude, this is gonna be so much fun. And then so I call you guys down, and I see you and Taylor come down, and then I'm like, wait, is that Ben? Uh-oh. and then that last quarter of the way, it went from steep to uncomfortably steep and even thicker. Like it just got just all the blowdown ended up in this one spot. And Ben called on the radio. Remember, he called, he's like, Kyle, I'm stuck. And we're like, oh, dude, you've called us on the radio a million times these last 3 days. We know, like, get yourself out. He's like, I know, but I'm going to get stuck again. And so what was it like when you rolled up to him?
He wasn't, for him, he wasn't even stuck. He was just in a really bad spot, like where you kind of really had one option to make it work or it wasn't going to go very well. And he's like, I'm pretty sure he's like, I roll up to him. He's like, I hate you guys. And I'm like, with a smile on his face.
Of course.
I'm like, well, what do you, and then I've like put it in his court. I'm like, what do you see? And he's like, I don't really see an option. I'm like, no, look, what do you think your option is? I'm not like, I saw some lines and I'm like, there's lines here. You got to pick one. And then if that one doesn't work, you got to have another one. Mm-hmm. And he's piecing it all together, and he's like, okay, I think I can make it over there. And I'm like, just keep that thing more on edge. There was 2 tight trees where the body's really easy to get the sled behind going downhill. And if you lose edge because your body's getting pinched to that tree, if you don't approach that tree quite right, it'll pitch you downhill. And he kind of coached him through that. He got to the next stage, and he still had a long ways to go. But so I kind of like leave him at that. He's catching his breath, and told him, just take your time. You'll get down this thing, turn right, and head back up. So then that was when our line came together.
Yep. I'm going to rewind 1 second too. What was challenging about this hill was the first 3/4 of it, the snow was about as good as we could ask for in April. You could go down, you could shove that spindle, and you could go down at a controlled descent, taking the angle out of the hill. The bottom quarter of the hill, you lost enough elevation that the snow got a little punchy. And that's, to your point, what Ben was really struggling with. He was on a boost sled, so a little more weight in the front. And what was happening as he would go down, and then we started to experience this, as you were going down, instead of the spindle like working for you, it was shoving the ski underneath the snow. And then literally as you're on this 45-degree slope and with crap everywhere, you're shoving that ski and you're having to pin it to raise the ski, get it back up on edge, and then like try to slide back down. And all that time as you dive that ski, the back end is trying to go around
Gravity.
you. Oh,
Gravity.
Man. And I'm telling you, it is really hard to tell someone who is already scared shitless going downhill with their ski underneath the snow that, dude, you just got to pin it right now and get that thing back up on top. Mm-hmm. And so he did it. It was awesome. Yeah. It was really cool to see him there. But as he was set up in this like pretty bad spot initially, you and I are down there. Taylor's upside down in a tree at this point, which we will get over to there. So when all 3 of us got down to Ben, and Taylor is all salivating because he sees a line that someone didn't make. He's like, is there a line over there? I'm like, yes. He's like, okay, I'll see you guys in a minute. And so he ended up going past where Ben had got stuck on this pretty steep face with this big log in the way. But I'm down below with Kyle and Ben. Ben's like changing his underwear for the second time. And then you start to go. And I'm like, sweet. And you start to go. And we are at the steepest part of the hill with all the crap in front of us. And I have this awesome GoPro video of Kyle and I dicing it up and duking it up out of this climb. And so, Kyle, we kind of reversed roles on this one.
Yeah.
You were in the front.
Yeah.
And I was in the back. And it reiterated why I hate being not first. And maybe hate is a bad word, but it was... I loved the challenge, in which you do too, right? Mm-hmm. So tell me about that line.
There was quite a few points that, I mean, there were some pinch points and kind of one option only, and just picked a pretty clean lineup out of there and got to the far edge of it, and I had to do a forced hop over there. I'm coming back, and you're like right on me, so you cut up a little bit earlier. We cross zigzag there. That's not the end of the junk yet. And we worked our way all the way up, zigging and zagging, and there was a lot of places you wouldn't have wanted to catch a ski tip.
Oh man. And you kind of sugar-coated, like, if that's what you felt, my version was not that. So here's my version. My version is, I see the first, like, this is why I don't like following you. No regard for anything. Snowmobile, body, visors, goggles, anything. No regard. So I've literally jump. So I go past Ben. I get up the first little head wall, and the very next thing I see is, dude, this trench through these goal pole shit trees everywhere. And I literally stop there. And I'm like, ah, shit. I made it 12 feet, and I'm already like, oh, gosh dang it, Kyle. And I'm like, well, we ride in a lot of terrain that is like this steepness, and we have some options. I sat there for like 10 seconds, like, oh, can't go there. I literally have to go through the goalpost here. And so get through this first part. And then, like you said, you were on a 155 Chaos. I was on a 165, and that's the whole reason I ride 65, is because for this exact situation that we're in right now. Mm-hmm. And I knew I didn't, it kept falling, the hill kept falling away into Never Neverland, and you kept going across, and I'm like, man, I want to find a shelf and gain elevation. And where I turned left and got up over this log, it was one of those ones like you were describing. It was one of those places, like, if I would have got stuck there, it would have been so terrible. And I literally the track spinning out on the log, and it barely catches, and then I barely get over this other one, and then here you come across, I barely miss you ski tipping, and then and we did that all the way up the hill. And I think what was so fun for me is, once we got up to the top, you come hauling butt in there, and we're just so pumped and excited. You're like, line of the year, and because it was just one of those ones that so many things could have gone wrong in it, to be upside down in some just a crappy spot. So that takes me to, speaking of being upside down in a crappy spot, that brings me to where Taylor was. So Taylor, you left from where we were. So we went across the hill and then up, and you literally turned that sled up and went up that face, and then, started going around. And then what did you run into there?
I just saw a line that somebody didn't make. I don't know who it was, but I decided to go do this log hop and go. And I'm riding a 850 with a stage 2 on it this year, and I had a boost as well, but that's what I was on that day. And so I was pushing it, trying to carry some extra momentum up the hill, and carried a little bit too much momentum. That was kind of the theme of my 3 days, was too much momentum at times. So I went up, had to do kind of a hop over coming back over, or a tight turn really, and there's a big log, and I ended up jumping up and over the log. Unlike Chris, that he spun out and made it over, I spun out and I made it just over, but it ended up flipping over backwards on me.
On the log.
Yeah, on the log.
On you.
I don't really let go of the sled unless I absolutely have to, and we have some footage of that, and so I flipped over backwards and kind of got stuck under this log, but I weaseled my way out. But my sled's pinned in. I'm on the uphill side of it, so you can't really drag it back. So I'm sitting there contemplating, and then down below me, this is when you guys are setting up to come up this hill, and I hear it sounds like a drag race taking off down there, and I thought they were coming right for me. I watched as they come out of here, wheeling up out of this, cutting in front of one another, and I was cheering for them, even though I was upside down, stuck over there. And it was just an awesome spot, because a lot of places we ride, there's an out, or you can get somebody in there, and it's like, oh, don't worry, we can just cut down, and literally, like, there's not an out here. It goes down the far hillside, because of the exposure had dirt and stuff on it. You couldn't ride out there. There was no other options here to ride out. And so it was just one of those spots that it's cool to be in, and seeing these guys rip up through there. And I definitely don't like asking for a lot of help on the radio. So once they got to the top, I could hear some cheers and some stuff coming down. I think I requested they come down and check out a line just to the left of where they went. And it wasn't
That was
long.
code word for I'm stuck as hell. Come help me.
Come help. And yeah, we didn't do too much damage on that one. We broke a footwell, ripped some rivets off the bottom of the sled, and but the sled rode out just fine. So that wasn't too bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to go to the part after that.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, so now we get Taylor situated, and we Ben now
It's still there.
Ben is on the radio now, and he's like, guys, I need help. I just need help. So we kind of come to the conclusion that it was my fault, and it was time to go get back with the rest of the group and check them out. So I drop down. Ben's probably 300 yards up the hill yet from the creek, and the creek's nasty. Like, it's the sun-baked. It's the wrong aspect. It's, I mean,
Logs
solid
crisscrossed
logs,
everywhere.
Not much snow, and so I go down to Ben. These guys head back to check on the rest of the group, and I get down there. He's like, what do I do? I'm like, well, you probably should just, like, because there was some ups, but extremely challenging. I'm like, we should probably just drop down to the creek, and we can take the creek up, hopefully. And he's like, I'm like, you want me to ride your sled down to the creek? I'll get it sitting in a spot where hopefully you can take off and go up the creek. So that was the plan. Then you drop down a little bit higher to kind of just bust a trail and make sure it was a good idea.
Well, and you say I dropped in. Well, so I went back to check on the group, and 45 minutes later, still no sign or hear of Kyle. So hey, Kyle, what's going on? He's like, we're still working on it. I look over to the group. I'm like, I'll be right back. I got to go see this.
So what I did is I left my sled up on the hill. The plan was I was going to ride Ben's sled to the bottom, get it in a spot where he could ride it out. So I take his sled down to the bottom, and it's exactly what we thought. And it is
junk.
Just punch snow to dirt where you push into it and you have a concrete wall in front of you. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to, like, tiptoe around this area and get this sled situated, which in that stuff you have to just go. So I get the sled. After a couple tries, I had to drop down, get spun around, and try to get over. There was 2 logs was the problem, and they were set up at the perfectly wrong distance to be able to, like, wheelie and set and then wheelie over the next one. You kind of just had to try to wheel tap both of them on no snow. And I come in, and the first one I came in too slow and got in that snow and stuck a ski, and then by the time I got up, I got stuck right on the log. So we rolled it off the log. Ben was down there by now. Roll the sled off the log. I come around. I get over that log that time, and then there's a solid wall of trees, water, rocks, and logs, and a stump on the right. So there was no option right, and I kind of just had to punch through limbs that were like this, and you could see kind of goalposts, silhouettes of trees. And I came through there, and I got through a wheelie in there and got up on top of the next log. I got stuck right on top of that log too. So it's been a while. Like, this has been a project. And then, so Ben hikes up to me. Ben has hiked a fair bit already. Ben hikes up to me. We pull the sled off the log.
And hold on. Hiking in the snow? That's not hiking.
Oh, no, it's
every step.
You're wading through, I don't know, you're wading through like concrete.
We went from the good snow to the junk snow in a hurry.
So we get it in a spot after that log, and I kind of stomp out a little trench for my ski to run through so it doesn't just dive on me. And I take out, I'm like, Ben, I'm going to try to get it up. I'm going to try to get up there just a little ways and park the sled, and then hopefully you'll be able to take off from there. And I take off and I get going, and I just can't find that spot to stop or I'm going to get stuck. So I end up having to go, another 300-400 yards up the creek, and I park his sled there in a pretty happy spot. For the zone, it's as happy as it gets. And I'm like, oh, man, this isn't. It
was a bad spot.
I don't know how far I am from my sled and elevation-wise. So I park his sled. TJ and Taylor were actually there now. They were in that area. They were trying to work in kind of a path to us. So I get his sled parked up on that path, and I'm like, well, Ben, your sled's a long ways up here, but I think you're going to be happier with it. Come and hike on up to it. So I hang out there until he gets up there to ride it out, and he's shot. He's like, I'm done with it. He's like, dude, I'm done. And I'm like, well, you see, that's not really an option right now.
You can't be done.
If you're done here.
We're halfway out.
Yeah.
This is the halfway point, Ben. I'm sorry.
And you've walked.
And you've walked. I can ride your sled further, but it's probably going to tire you out even more.
Yeah.
So I start hiking back to my sled once Ben gets on. And then you were with him then, where I hike. Oh yeah, and on my hike, I made a $1 bet with Taylor and won another $1. we can throw that clip in there. But so I hike back up to my sled, and my sled's
I
sitting.
offered to give you a ride up to your sled.
Yeah, that wouldn't have worked.
Kyle didn't want to ride double.
No. So I park where I was parked. I hike back to. I was parked where I initially started this venture with Ben. So I get back up to my sled and loop around, come back down. Come back across the hill and run into TJ, and TJ was a little bit behind. Taylor and Ben were up a little ways, and Ben was stuck again and really, really kind of mad at the world, I think, a little bit. He was in good mood, though.
He was. It was just, we talk about it all the time. He was tired, and in that snow, if you hesitate a little, you just get so punished. And that's what kept happening. He was tired, eyes were down, and he was on a boost, a chaos boost, and it was a challenging sled. I got two things I want to say about what you were just describing. So, okay, after you and I make our line, we high five. We're like, we better go get Ben, right? So we go down there. Ben's in that bad spot, and you're like, I'll stick with Ben. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a track for you guys down to the creek, and then I'm going to go out and check on the group. When I got down to the creek and I crossed the creek and got into that crap snow and somehow got out of there and got to a spot, I called you on the radio. I'm like, all right, you guys are good. The whole time in the back of my mind, I'm like, they are so effed that it was terrible. I barely got out of there.
And that was above the logs.
I know. Yeah. I got above the logs and you guys were down in it. I can't even imagine. So that was one thing I had. TJ, you were kind of above all this, seeing all this, and then you dropped in. What was it like? Okay, what was your view of where we were at, what we were riding right there, and what were your thoughts on it?
So we had another client in there. We had Nick,
yeah,
which was on a red sled, just like the 9R. And right when we got in there, I knew Ben was down, and I see this red sled coming across, and I'm like, oh, here comes Chris, and then it's Nick, and I'm like, so my first thought is, heck yeah, we got clients down in here.
Yeah.
This is awesome. And then my second thought was, oh, shit, we have clients in here. We got to get these guys back out of here now. So me and Nick messed around quite a bit, and we went up to the top. And I think me and you met up somewhere, and I asked where everybody else was, and you said they were way down. And then I think you told me that I probably shouldn't go down there because it's nasty.
It was.
And I was like, okay, I'm definitely going down there now. That sounds awesome. And I didn't see, when I got down there where I could see what was happening, Kyle was just bringing Ben's sled up the creek. Mm-hmm. But looking across that side hill, it was like side hill, log jumps, side hill where you spin out on the log and then you catch traction, keep side hill across, and it looked bad. I'm kind of glad I wasn't down in there.
You ended up having to ask for a ski pole.
I did. I dove a ski into a tree and
You got wedged.
that right angle wedged.
You needed
in
the
between
throttle
a tree.
buddy, didn't you?
Yeah, a little longer arms. I could have reached my throttle and pulled my ski at the same time. It would have been really nice.
I've needed one of them before.
Yeah.
I did have a throttle buddy. My buddy Chris.
Oh, yeah. It was
And
us.
Taylor showed up.
So, all right. So we get Ben back to his snowmobile.
In a happier spot.
Whatever. And so now we're just trying to get out of here. Ben's like
Over it.
Over it. I'm done. I need to get out. Okay, cool. So between being over it and getting out, there was like 3 more whiskey throttles into not actual whiskeys, but whiskey throttle. And it was just that snow, like he got a little behind the sled, took a foot back, and just like the sled kept going to the left and to the right. And then that last one into the tree just about cracked me up. And this is all while TJ is stuck in the creek. Taylor like tree taps this freaking tree 12 feet up. Nick
Whoa. Where were you?
Oh, I got stuck.
I think you were stuck. We were all stuck within
we were.
10
it was
yards.
so stupid. Like I see this perfect little wall. I'm like, oh sweet. I'm just gonna do a quick re-entry down here. And I go to put a foot down in the snow to do the re-entry, and I went up to my crotch and I literally pulled the sled right on top of me. And so I'm stuck with the sled on top of me. I'm trying to hurry before Kyle can see me because I hear him down there. TJ comes over to help. He ends up in the freaking creek. Nick, the other dude's on the bad snow side. He wedges a ski. He's upside down. And then here comes Ben, yard sails into the tree. I'm like, dude, we got to get out of here.
So my view of this, so Kyle's hiking to his sled. I'm helping Ben come up the drainage, pulling skis. We had like 3 stucks in between there. TJ was just trying to get up to where you were stuck at. I come around the corner, and literally, from my view, Ben had just came around, flipped his sled on side, and I can see like 5 heads of dudes. And that's all I can see. There's this white snow and these 5 dudes standing in it. I'm like, what in the world is going on? And this is when TJ dropped into the creek and is actually stuck in the creek. Ben stuck below him. Chris had just got his sled out. And like, oh, this is never ending. And Kyle, then he rolled up after that. And then we went. I just watched. There's too many people.
So that was the exit. That we were at the exit, and I love TJ. I love your response. Kyle's like, he's doing a story or whatever. He's like, TJ, what are you doing? And you're like, my sled was hot. I'm cooling it down. There's just running water underneath his track, and we're all in the muck and the mud, and oh my gosh, dude. And so that was when you named that
Shit Creek. We'll be back.
Oh, we'll be back for sure. So that was, what was awesome is that was day 3, the end of the BBA season. We ended on such, for us, like that's what we love and what we live for. And that feeling of like, we're going to go push ourselves, and we're going into, we had never been in that spot before. So we loved the challenge and the exploration. It could have been a better day. Like those are like terrible days for a lot of people, and it was one of the best days that we had all season.
That's what Ben was in a different mindset where he was not enjoying it. He's like, oh, sorry, man. I'm like, no, this is awesome. I love this stuff. Just trying to get out of there.
Well, we have a bunch of clips to kind of back up this story. As you guys can tell from our excitement and the laughter and everything, it was a shit show, and we love those. And we put ourselves into those situations to really push ourselves from a skills standpoint, a mental standpoint. There were definitely a ton of places in there, and that's what I radioed to Ben while he was like, literally he sat there for 4 minutes like staring down at that creek in the bottom, and I'm like, hey Ben, this is where when we talk about being comfortable being uncomfortable, you are living it right now, my friend. And I was proud of him. He he knew what he needed to do because he's been here plenty of times, and it was not all roses, but he got down. He got down to there, and he got in there, and he had made some cool lines prior to that. Until that was the thing, right? There was one more shelf that when you dropped off that last shelf. Hello.
Yeah, that was Never Never.
That was Never Neverland.
Yeah.
And we went down there on purpose. And Ben said, "Why am I here?" So that was a lot of fun. And so I guess we're gonna do one more story on this for this podcast, and this we're gonna rewind back to day 2.
Oh God.
Is that where you?
Kill switch.
I got to ride that.
The log jump.
The one more.
What day did I get to ride that thing? The 9R.
You were riding it. It was.
Was it day 3?
Yeah, it was day 3 in the beginning.
Pretty incredible sled.
Yeah. Well, shoot. And that's the thing. We could have another podcast. So remember oh no, that was day 2.
When we switched off for a while.
Was Shit Creek day 2 or day 3?
3.
That was day 3. I'm sorry. Day 3 or one more was when we all got upside down in the chute and Taylor almost died and you tore your shoulder, all of that stuff. Man,
Yeah.
that was, we might end up doing 2 podcasts because that was a lot of fun. But what I really enjoyed was our day 2 when I won $1. But let's talk about, there was some really fun stuff going on to that. And so let's talk about, so we had an awesome day 2. We had, everyone's tired, ready to go, but we
Hadn't done it all year.
I know. Yeah. The way we were coming out brought us right by our actually, here's what happened. Kyle's giving me the wave with his head, but here's how it happened. We always stop at this one point, make sure guys get through this little bottleneck of this little jump that my dad almost died on. And then we always stop there, make sure everyone gets past this point, and this is where our one more is.
Yep.
And this is a one more that we do once, maybe twice a year.
Yep.
And I poked in there one time early season. Andrew and TJ poked in there and we only did just a little bit of it. Mm-hmm. And I stopped, and when I look back, I've never seen Kyle pointing and yelling and screaming so much, like, over there, we're going over there. I know, Kyle. I know you were ready for this. And so this is one that I have been upside down in, like, just in the worst situations because it's so tight. There's so many obstacles. There's steepness, and remember I won like $12 from you.
Well, I was down $12. Me, you, and Ross were all stuck 10 feet from each other.
Yep.
Roll my sled out.
I was stuck in the mud.
Yeah, the same mud.
We'll reference that here in just a second.
Me, you, and Ross were there. It was late in the season. I was down $12 in dollar bets.
Got a little
due
desperate.
to some really dumb choices. I decided to go double or nothing and throw $12 down on this one line. I was sitting parked on a steep hill, had to get over a log, and then up in the rest of the super steep hill. I'm like, double or nothing right here, right now. I'm going to take off from here, and I'm going to go out the top. And we can probably find this clip.
Yeah, you made 3 feet.
3 inches. I go to take off and nothing happens, and I just get stuck.
That was like Taylor's $1 he lost.
I got turned around though.
Oh, I did too.
Eventually.
Yeah, so I got stuck there.
All right.
Same spot.
So let's paint this picture, right? It starts kind of open but really steep, and then it goes into this freaking it's a creek essentially that you're following up, and it must be a section of it that's kind of warm because literally like there is moss and running water and it's open, and I have ended up in that gosh dang place I don't know how many times. And so before we even started up the hill, I knew exactly where I was going to go. I knew what I needed to do. I'm going to carry a ton of momentum. I'm going to stay on the left of the creek, and I'm going to cross the creek. I'm going to go up this head wall. I'm going to flip all these guys off when I'm at the top. And so here I go. And the The line is going exactly like I planned. I had been up this section like 20 times in my life here, right? I have it so dialed and so memorized. I know exactly where I need to turn. And I cross the creek and I'm like, dude, I am moving. And I go into the critical spot. This is where you got to like carry the momentum so you can get the head wall. And I get kill switched bigger than crap. And I end up like with my sled, boom, right in the goddamn mud again.
In the bottleneck.
And what's so, I'm in the bottleneck, right? And so I hear you pin behind me, and it's so funny in the GoPro, you hear the bowl, right? Me getting kill switched, and literally I don't say a word. You see the view of the GoPro look straight up in the sky because I was just like, why? You gotta be kidding me. And then here you come, and you're like, as you come around the corner, like normally I'm always like pointing, right? Like, dude, this way, go, 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 go. And I'm like, you're effed. I mean, I am in the worst spot possible. So you drive up, put a ski on my freaking running board just about, right? And then so you're stuck because I'm stuck in the bottleneck. And like before you even like get there and or stopped, I'm like, hey, I got kill switched. I'm not stuck. I got kill switched.
I'm like, yeah, whatever.
And so you get hung up right there because of me. And then here comes TJ coming around the corner.
Tries to go over the log.
Tries to go over this log that's 18 feet in the air that you lost your $12 on.
Yeah.
So I got TJ upside down on this. I got Kyle right up me, right at the back of me. Taylor got hung up a little bit on the big hill that was below us. You get spun around, so now you're coming. And
Ben is also there, stuck.
Ben squared.
Ben Square's right behind us.
He
stuck.
stepped up. He was like, I'm not going. And then here he comes. So that was pretty
Well, what
cool.
it was at the bottom, 5 minutes before, Chris says, all right, we're going home, warm gloves, scratchers down.
That's
so I know. I know better. I know better than that. I had scratchers up, my light gloves on. We turn up this hill, and everybody's
Is he
chasing.
going to blame it on his ice scratchers?
Good.
Chasing Chris. I had to make another turn, but Chris threw out $1 to the clients, if any client. And so we had tired, worn out guys, and every one of them, I think, pointed it up this hill to come up. And so I turned out on the hill, came up, and I had like probably 5 or 6 stuck sleds that I navigated through and around, get up to see Ben, and I'm ready to go to the top. And all of a sudden I see Chris up here.
I'm stuck
and I'm like, what in the world? And just throwing it out there, I might have made it the highest on the hill in that short time.
You did get stuck the highest.
Yes.
Because you didn't make it. So I'm stuck in the mud.
I'm pretty sure I already took off.
Yeah, you
did.
left.
Well, you did because I tried to get out of the way, and then I backed up and I tried to go and I couldn't go, but that gave you just enough
To get
so then you crossed the creek. You couldn't go up the head wall. You had to go right through a bunch of junk, and then you ended up into where we'll talk about
bigger head
next. Yeah. But TJ during that time, he gets unstuck and he's in a position. Taylor comes through. He helps me get unstuck, and then you came back through, and then you went up the head wall, and you got hung up right there. And then TJ comes around, you get hung up on the head wall, and then I was able to, thankfully, I went left and got around TJ and did make it to the top first. Just want to clarify.
So, meanwhile, you guys are doing this over here. And Taylor's claiming a high mark that he didn't get. But I drove over to the right of this. I was the first one at the head wall, had to skirt right, didn't drive till I got stuck like Taylor. Went right, and I'm looking, I come across the hill, and I see this, like, funnel up two big logs. And the one's, like, huge, and it's steep, super steep.
Like a 30-incher.
It's a big tree.
And I'm looking up, and I'm like, oh, man. I need to be going, like, 40 at this log, but with how much hills before it, I don't know. So I make a big loop, and I drop as low as I'm like going downhill, and I'm just like reading it. I'm like, gosh, I'm looking for the cleanest. No matter where I come from, I don't care how far I need to come from. If I can come into it fast, I just need a nice clean line. So I scope my line, and I drop down, get turned around, and at that same time I was scouting, I heard Chris go up out the top, because this meets up right with where Chris went out the top.
Yep.
And I loop around, and it's like I was just in my bottom about to take my run at it, and I see Chris go across the top, and I was still contemplating this log, and I'm like, oh, I'm going now. At least he's there to save me. So I come around, and I'm pinned, go all the way up the hill, and I get to the log, and I had pretty good speed. I just didn't have, I was trenching too deep, and I just needed it to pop the sled before the log, but I didn't have enough speed.
Needed a 163.
I needed something. I don't know. I'm not going to blame it on that. So I needed to be able to let off into the log, but I just didn't have enough speed to. I needed to stay on the gas too long to get the skis over it because it was this far out of the snow.
Yeah.
So I get up on top of the log, get the rear bogies probably to the center point of the log, and I needed another 4 feet of momentum to at least maybe be able to get out of it.
To be really screwed and stuck on the other side of the log.
Or flipped over backwards on it. And then it starts coming backwards, and I think both my feet are on the log now, and I'm trying to hold the handlebars forward, but it's way too steep to hold the sled. And my foot falls off the log. Like, I'm wrong foot forward on the left side. My foot falls off the log, and I'm post hold up to my waist on this log. And the ski comes down right on the left side of my right leg. And the sled is literally hanging off the left ski with the ski tipped up, and my leg between the back of the A-arms, the log, and then my entire weight of my sled hanging from the ski with my leg in between the A-arms. And I'm at my sled, I rip my tether off, and I'm there, and I'm like, I try to wiggle once. Chris is like, it's weird that we know this, but like, it doesn't happen very often, but every once in a while, you kind of know something, and you're like, you need help? And I'm like, yeah, I definitely need some help. And he's like, are you pinned? And I'm like, yep, my leg is pinned. I couldn't even wiggle it. Every time I wiggled it, it hurt worse.
Yeah, because it kept falling farther back down and pinning you. So, all right, you described that perfectly. And so Kyle sees me crest the top. He's like, oh, hell yeah, we're in. And so I spin around, and I'm parked at the top of this hill. And I know exactly where you're trying to come up, and I'm just laughing. I'm like, this ain't gonna work. It's always sugary in there.
Oh, yeah.
And the problem is, it's not that it's this perfect smooth run where you just have to wheelie over. There's a stupid bump in there in the middle of the hill that sucks all that you have, and there's logs in there too.
Yeah.
It sucks everything you have, and then you have to get over it. It sets you up poorly to get over the log.
Yeah.
And so I'm watching this, and so here comes Kyle, very committed, I will say. Committed, smokes the log, and like literally his sled hits the log and bounces about 8 feet over to the right. He's Supermaning off of this thing, not even close to in control.
Oh, come on.
And
it felt pretty good.
And so, and then, what you were describing, you bulldog your sled, the sled slides down, it pinches your leg in between the sled and the log. So basically your front of the sled is on the good side of the log, the uphill side. The back of the sled is dangling, and you're luckily holding the sled up with your leg. And so again, I haul butt down there, and so you're trying to push, I'm trying to pull the sled forward. We can actually relieve the pressure at least. But then thankfully, here comes Taylor now. Taylor had gotten unstuck, spun around, and then he made that fun, cool line that was on the left. He gets up there, and
luckily he got stuck where he could see us.
I slowed down.
He got stuck where he could see us.
Oh, I got the video. Don't worry, Kyle.
Okay, got it.
So Taylor does this gnarly line, gets up through there, and literally, I don't know what happened, stops in a bonehead place.
I got distracted by two guys hugging on a log down below me.
Are you guys making out down there? What's going on? So anyway, we're like, hey, Taylor, we could use some help. And
which is not normal to hear that request on the radio.
We need someone who can actually move a snowmobile. And Taylor's built like a gorilla. So Taylor runs down there. We pull the sled up. We get Kyle out. And it's so funny, we're looking at the track, right? I'm again, looking down the hill. Kyle's track coming into this big log that we were hopping over is 8 feet over there.
Just transferred.
He levitated his snowmobile from one point of the hill to the other point of the hill. And so we ended up getting Kyle tipped back over, getting the sled back up over on the downside of the log, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we flipped it back over. And so then you go down there, and then you claim, hey,
I'd go down to the bottom,
take a peek at it.
and I'm like, man, that still looks pretty good. And then I'm like, I was feeling bad for him because I was up by $5. And I was like, I can afford to lose $1.
It's only $1.
It looks pretty easy. It'll make him feel good. It didn't look good. It didn't look good. But I'm like, hey, I tell you what, if you come and go up this thing, it's for $1. You just have to make it out the top. And
Yep. So I cruise around and I go down and I look at it and this was one of those ones where I had a shot.
Yeah.
This is what Kyle normally doesn't do. He normally makes you get out a pen and paper. He makes like, you got to go over this 14-footer. Now you got to go in between that ski and over here and all this crap. And I lose track and then I still pull the line and then he like pulls some BS. And
I need to get the video from Cammy G. Because them rules were very well stated.
dude, I can't remember all that crap. All right. So anyway, I look at this one and then he starts doing all this crap. I'm like, no, I'm going to hop this log and I'm going to make it. Because there has been a couple technicalities that we've tried to do when we got our front end over the log.
Yep.
I got over the log. You're like, no, you didn't. I'm like, I'm going out over this thing and that's what's going to happen.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, deal. And so I spin around and I'm like, we love these log hops. We really enjoy them. And what I was able to do versus what screwed you, and again, it could be 55 versus 65, was, when I hit that first head wall, I could set the sled down right there and then do one more wheelie up and I was able to let off. Instead of wheeling into the log, I was able to wheelie up on top of the log.
Yeah.
And so literally, like, it was actually a pretty clean run. It made it look easier than it was, kind of.
So, yeah, it was. It was really clean. You got over it. I mean, you hit that wall in the bottom super fast, soaked it up, buzzed the log, perfect. And now me and Taylor, you flick us off on your way by. Me and Taylor were up there at the top, and so we're parked there. You come back down, and I'm like, I want that $1 back. Will you give me a shot if I go over it now? And just as I'm about to fire up my sled,
This is my favorite part.
TJ, we hear a turbo. And no one was on a turbo that day other than Ben. We hear a turbo wound up.
Light up.
Comes around. We can see this whole hill.
So you just got to remember, like, TJ's been MIA for a little bit,
We haven't
right?
seen him in a while.
I was up there.
Yeah, TJ was up there. He was like, he literally was at the last head wall and probably just needed to roll his sled, circle around, and he ended up, actually, no, here's what happened.
I was at the bottom of the
Yeah,
log hop.
you were at
and
the
I was looking
bottom of
up,
the
and you
log
guys were
hop.
like, let's go. I'm like, this is the last day on my sled. I'm
Yeah.
going to wreck it.
You were on your 900,
Yep.
right? And yeah, that's exactly right. He comes in the bottom, just like you did. He came in your line, came into that log hop, and we're like, come on, TJ, don't be a puss. And he's like, no. And then so TJ leaves, and then so we're up there, and that's when let's see here, something happened. It wasn't very long. So TJ hauls ass all the way down to the bottom of the hill.
Push Ben squared off his sled.
Ben off of his snowmobile.
Well, okay, I had heard the talk of there's $1 at the top of this log hop, and I'm like,
Really need a turbo.
I wonder if I can go get that turbo quick. So I race to the bottom, push Ben off his sled. He's like, what the heck? I'm like, I need this sled. Get off. Give me your tether. So I take off, and I didn't make it 10 yards from the group, like the first head wall, and I freaking re-entry this turbo over on top of me because I hadn't ridden a boost in like a month. Resituate, go all the way back up top, and I am like, I'm whooped. Like my face is beat red. I'm tired. And I come around the corner up to the log hop, and I come around the corner hauling. And I think I made it over the first log. What happened?
Yeah,
I went over the first one.
Sideways.
Oh, dude, you came in just way too hot.
Oh, yeah.
What we would describe as whiskey.
Yeah. So me and Kyle and Taylor were like, Kyle's discussing. He's like, I want this $1 back. And we're kind of setting up the stage for Kyle's redo of his
It
$1,
looked
right?
good because there was still some fresh snow, and there was like a place that I could even use the track to my advantage and then get on that pillow before the log, I thought, and get over it.
But this was the best part. So we're discussing this, right? And all of a sudden we just stop talking because we hear this like boost, like what? And we look at each other like, TJ, yes, we were so pumped, like, come on. And he comes around the corner, and TJ is like, he looks like he's about 7'2" on the sled. His legs are about this long, and his arms are this long. He comes around, like, just legs out, just comes around this corner. I'm like, look out, boys. He's coming. And it was awesome. Your stock went up $1 when I saw you coming around that corner. And then you lost $2 when I saw you didn't even get to the log. Because, I mean, it was awesome, dude. You were carrying so much speed. And you, again, we always say this, you would have had it. You know, you were literally a foot to the right that set you up poorly into the log. And so TJ gets all upside down on the first head wall. He's basically ski tapping the big log that you had to cross. He's upside down here, and it really exposed the head wall logs now.
Yeah, there was no snow left on the first log.
I'm pretty sure he had a shovel out and he was shoveling snow off of the line.
I may or may not have paid TJ to come up there and take the rest of the snow out for Kyle's redemption line.
Yeah. So then I was still like, well, I made the bet. I'm going to try it. So I came around and I went for it again. And now there was no snow left on the bottom logs or to the top log. It was to dirt. And I came in, track spinning, and basically put the tips of my skis, I think, 1 inch above the center line of that log.
Yeah, and I got it on film because I hiked down to it because I was going to see this.
Dude, Taylor, your video of Kyle hitting it, because in real time, it just looked like it kind of did the same thing, right? He ski tapped the log, got all screwed up, and it didn't work. But Kyle, what your sled went through and how lucky you were to like kind of
have both my legs and arms and A-arms, spindles and shocks.
Oh man,
we got a screenshot where his skis are a little bit past vertical. The ski tip is where you can reach it from driving the sled. And but hey, you didn't get pinned that time.
That time, no, I jumped off the log that time.
Yeah, and to kind of wrap that all up, so you know, Kyle gets hung up right there, and I mean, it looks like it's a disaster there. There's no snow left, trees, logs everywhere, and so now it's okay. We can go home now, you know. And so I go down, and because I just wanted to look and see how bad it was, and it was terrible. And I get down there, and TJ, in the meantime, too, he was trying to get up still to the top, but as you're looking up the hill towards the log, he was trying to get up to this left line. He gets screwed up there. And he's getting himself unstuck. And then, so I'm down there, and we're just about done. And TJ comes over, and he rides his sled to me. And he is so tired, goggles like down like on at the front of his helmet because they're so fogged from like sweat literally
running down my face.
And like he parks on this hill, and you guys all know you kind of need to park on edge on a hill. TJ rolls up, couldn't even park on edge, gets high-sided, sled's rolling towards him, and he's just, dude, this screenshot, this is like your profile picture for you in my contacts of the most beat red face I've ever seen, sweat dripping, like holding his sled up with his feet so it doesn't kill him. And I'm like, TJ, are you done? Yeah, we can go now.
I was done before we got to the one more. Yeah.
Oh man, guys, it's you know, this is what's awesome. You know, we've been talking for an hour now, and so for those of you who are bitching that our podcasts are more than 30 minutes, you might want to cut this one in half. We sure have a lot of dang fun, don't we? And that was literally 2 lines out of 3 days. And, you know, we didn't even get to the part where Taylor, you know, flung his meat off of that freaking cliff and ended up down in the tree. And, or heck, the one where he was trying to go up the head wall in the Polaris Bowl and like flipped his snowmobile on top of him twice in a row there and then front flipped.
Who did?
Taylor.
The one you
filmed. We got to put that in and edit.
Gosh.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And we had to come rescue Kyle there.
Oh, yeah.
We
We had four
parked.
people.
That was not a good spot. There was
I mean, the gravity would have been very easy to work with and get my snowmobile off of there, but
Except
what
the
it
stuff
would
below you.
what it would have gone through would have been bad.
Taylor's body took it to rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Well, maybe what we'll do, we got to get going. We got to get on the snow for the old iron ride, but maybe we got all 4 of us tonight hanging, so maybe we can have one more little revisit, and we'll get one more podcast shot tonight. But I hope you guys enjoyed. You guys can see that we have a lot of passion. We have a lot of fun at our job here, and it's what we have to do. We have to have days like this to keep it not being monotonous, and for us to really have the right mindset to literally go and commit the time and energy into what is required to do this job that we do. And it does sound like it's all roses, getting to go snowmobile every day. The snowmobile part's the easy part, and we always talk about that. But so it's days like that fire us up for next year, and so it was a fun 3 days sharing with you guys, and the stories and the laughs, and it's really cool to share it with you guys listening today. So appreciate that. We'll be back with some more podcasts here soon, and make sure you check out on the YouTube channel. Blake's been doing a killer job of we got a bunch of cool edits. Kyle, you just got your Jackson edit up, dude. That freaking gave me shivers. It was good.
I like it.
It was really good. So check out all the YouTube stuff, and then for you guys who are listening on just via podcast, this will be a fun one to watch on the YouTube channel because we'll throw in all this footage. So thanks for listening, guys, and we'll tune in next time. Wait, no, I don't. Hold on. God, no. Nope.
No, that's intro.
Oh, we could end that way.
Crickets.
Let's see.
Fairyland.
Does anyone think that we can beat Taylor's 4-stroke?
Enough said.
Enough said. All right.
Thanks,
Peace out.
guys.